Hello, Battlecats players. My name is Chance. Welcome to my guide. And brother, we are looking at what is quite arguably one of my least favorite units in this entire game. If you can't tell by looking at the screen here, we are going a little bit out of order. In my last video, I kind of ran into an interesting conundrum, whether to finish up the normal cats or just continue going in order of the unit ID numbers. Looks like we're going to do Superfeline. Now, if I say Super Cat throughout this video, please forgive me. I don't know why Ponos did this, but there is a difference between Superfeline and Super Cat. Namely, that Super Cat isn't nearly as insulting as Superfeline is, but we'll get into that when its time to shine comes. Until then, let's round out the normal cats. It is also worth noting, in my last video on Titan Cat, there was a mistake when I was animating it. It has the wrong unit ID number. So, of course, I do apologize for that. I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't happen moving forward. To be honest, I'm not even really too sure how it happened the first time. Usually I'm pretty good when it comes to this kind of stuff. But in any case, let's talk about Superfeline and why and many people don't really like this cat. Firstly, Superfeline is unlockable after completing Cats of the Cosmos Chapter 3, and you can't get them through XP. You have to get them through rare cat capsules. And if you don't know what that is, well, firstly, you must be incredibly new to the game, but it's kind of garbage. Like, super garbage. It just kills my dang brain. Alright, let's move on to his evolutions, and maybe we'll find something redeemable there. So, like all the normal cats, Superfeline evolves into Superfeline 2 at level 10. At this point, his description changes from transcended mortality to turn the tides of destiny. Swifty closes in on its target with its long tail. Delivers massive damage to relics and Omni Strike. 2. Cat who charges into battle of its own free will, seeks freedom through sheer physical power, delivers massive damage to relics, and he gets a little bit buffer, right? Now, where Superfeline really irks me is what you need to do to true form him. That is not a mistake on the screen, by the way. That is level 20 plus 80. Firstly, he's not cheap to level up. Secondly, to get to plus 80 on him, you need over 15,000 user rank. 15,000! That is bananas. That is so dang late game that you... Alright, well, I'll talk about that later. Regardless, the investment needed to get this cat up to true form is patently absurd. There are very few units in the game that I would consider investing this much into. Its description changes to the genetic embodiment of humanity catified, which is an interesting stage to say the least. I'm actually looking forward to talking about it in a very future video. After years of recombination, it awakens, deals massive damage to relics, and Omni Strike again. Now, let's move on to its performance here. Okay, you know what? Let's just start with what kind of class it is. It is a rusher and a melee unit. Now, melee unit, of course, means range 1 to 249. Not great. We will kind of talk about it a little bit, just because the way that Superfeline works is a little different than how every other cat we've discussed up until this point works. And rushers are extremely fast units, typically with shorter than average cooldowns, long back swings, high speed, and short and mid-range. They often have high damage per hit and are able to do lots of damage quickly. this kind of applies. And we will talk about that in a little bit here. Now, I'll do my best to maintain a fairly positive outlook for this cat, and we'll talk about the pros first. Yeah, decent health and attack power, short attack animation, fast movement speed, high knockback count, and pretty okay area attack for a melee unit. Cons: mediocre range and high cost. I would also make an argument that its cooldown is kind of nuts. I get why it is what it is. I think that Ponos has a weird idea of how powerful Omni Strike is, and I would like to see Superfeline's cooldown reduced by like 20%. I feel like if you did that, it might actually be a viable unit. But until that happens, if you can't tell, I don't recommend this to new players, even experienced players. It would be impossible to recommend to new players anyways, because like when you unlock it, at that point you're not a new player. You've been playing the game for multiple days, unless you found a way to kind of con the energy system, in which case fair enough. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. Let's talk about his additional features. So it deals massive damage to relic enemies. I hear you asking, what does massive damage mean? Massive damage means you inflict 5 times damage to that type of enemy, and that in this case it would be relics. Cool. There's a way to increase it to 6%, but that doesn't affect this cat. And relics, there are better things to take care of them. Substantially better things. Next you have immune to curse, which is what it sounds like. He's immune to curse, helps with relics, but once again, better things to deal with it. Omni Strike is interesting. We haven't talked about it yet. What this means is when a cat attacks, it applies damage to the front and rear of it at the same time. It sounds cool, but it's only really useful in zombie stages. And even in zombie stages, once again, there are better units. So it doesn't get that much playtime. The additional downside to the way Omni Strike works is you need an enemy in front to proc it. So in the case of the zombie stage, let's say there's a zombie behind you and you would like to attack it, but there's nothing in front of you. Because of that, the Superfeline will never undergo the attack animation, ergo no Omni Strike. So it's a very circumstantial ability that Pono seems to think is really, really good, and while it does have use cases, this is not a good one. And then you have Colossus Slayer, which is an interesting one that we haven't really talked about yet. When it comes to the Slayer traits, they kind of work similar to Strong Against. So they deal 1.6 damage and take 0.7 damage. So it's more damage but less resistance and being strong against. It does stack with the others, however, so there's potential for interesting combos there, but it's not really that useful, and there are better units for it, which is kind of the inherent problem with this cat. It doesn't make any dang sense, and there's a lot of trivia regarding it that kind of fill in why it exists the way it exists, but whatever. Let's check out some gameplay while I go over utilization and strategy with this cat. It is actually kind of good at dealing with low range enemies, and because it has Omni Strike, it really is a better version of area attack. So when it comes to dealing with swarms, there is a use case for it there. It has half decent health and good attack, so against some stuff it can be useful, which is all great. There are enemies you can use it against if you're grinding treasures. However, man, who knows whether or not you'll even use it for that. Like, there's even by the point you unlock it, like, odds are you're going to have better gacha units. You might even have an Uber or two. And at the price point and recharge time, I feel like almost every Uber in the game is a better choice than Superfeline. It doesn't have any room in the meta whatsoever. Like, it is almost a meme unit. I can't think of really a single stage that would be made marketably easier by Superfeline over everything else. Like, I don't think it exists. At every stage in the game, you have something that will outclass it, unless your luck with the gacha rolls is just truly abhorrent, or you're using like some weird rule set to define your run and you need to only use normal cats and you're trying to break barriers, and even then there are some barriers that Superfeline can't get to, or can't get through rather. So I don't even think it makes sense there. Maybe against zombie stages it would make them a little bit easier, but cat spam is far more useful against zombie stages, and there are zombie killer cats that remove the need for Omni Strike outright, so I don't even know if that's useful at all. It's just weird. It's a weird cat in terms of how to use it. In theory, there can be uses, but firstly, it's very expensive to get fully upgraded. It takes a long time, and even if it didn't take a long time to get it upgraded, you still need 15,000 user rank, and that will bring you ridiculously far into the game, past any of the use cases I'm really describing, unless you spend a ton of money and get a bunch of gacha rolls and then level those gacha rolls so your user rank spikes as a result of that, in which case maybe, but for most players, there's just no way this makes any sense. Anyways, let's move on, I suppose. Sorry if that was a little bit ranty, but let me know in the comments. Like, honestly, just straight up tell me what you think this cat could be useful for. Because I can't think of a single example where it doesn't get outclassed by really most of the non-gacha units, but certainly the gacha units. It's just, it's a weird cat. In case you're curious, by the way, its Chapter 1 cost is 1,600, Chapter 2 cost is 2,400, Chapter 3 cost is 3,200, which is close to Uber level of pricing, by the way. Depending on the Uber, I guess, but for the most part, I think that's very close to the average cost. Now, if you notice on the screen, those of you who have been longtime viewers of the channel are like, hey Chance, you missed something. You're missing the cat combos. No, I'm not. They don't exist. For whatever reason, Ponos did not give this cat any cat combos, which is kind of weird because the way they marketed it, you think it would be the best thing since sliced bread and it'll work great with everyone. I don't even know why it doesn't. Like, it's clearly a Superman riff, right? Clearly. There are characters in the game that resemble other superheroes. Many of them are Ubers, sure, but that shouldn't matter, right? Ponos has paired up tons of Ubers with normal units for cat combos in the past. Why they haven't done it for Superfeline, I don't know. They didn't do it. Instead, you're looking at this ridiculous XP. It's pretty ridiculous. You're looking at about 1 million experience points per level, which, in my opinion, is just... It doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess if you're grinding user rank, sure. If you have XP to burn, sure. But this is a lot of XP, man. Well, I'm going to flash his stats up on the screen there. Superfeline's name and description are seemingly based off of Friedrich Nietzsche's Ubermensch, the concept of a human being who has complete mastery of themselves and whose values revolve around their love of life on Earth rather than being in respect or fear of a higher power or afterlife. Superfeline's appearance is likely based on a misinterpretation of the same concept, possibly intentionally as a parody of Superman. The term eternal return in true Superfeline's Japanese description refers to another philosophical concept used heavily by Nietzsche and associated with the Ubermensch. The idea that the history of the universe is a cycle of infinitely reoccurring events with no particular beginning or end, eternity repeating its own creation and destruction. Superfeline is the only normal cat to have been added after the game's release. Not be unlocked by Empire of Cats. Dropped from a rare cat capsule instead of a basic cat capsule. Have a different user rank requirement for its plus levels than the rest. Max out at a level other than 20 plus 90. Not maintain a true form at level 20 plus 10. Have no other variants including crazed and little. Have a little cat's face and not be part of any cat combo. It is the only unit to have the same upgrade cost for every level. The 10th anniversary video revealed True Superfeline's appearance ahead of time and confirmed it to have the same cat present in the Battle Cats logo. From 12.0 onward, playing on December 31st changed the game's intro to an alternative version, in which Superfeline steadily approaches the player. At the end of the intro, the screen turns red, alluding to the line 2022 New Year's Eve. The Japanese archipelago is stained with blood in the Japanese version's intro. Very interesting. Superfeline's description is one of the few to mention a subchapter by name. The others are the colossal enemy's Japanese description, which refer to the laboratory of relics. The line at the end of eternal recurrence is now moving after eons past in True Superfeline's Japanese description could possibly be referring to how True Superfeline is always present in the game's logo but stayed there unmoving until version 12.0. True Superfeline's description does not mention its Colossus layer. It has the highest total upgrade cost of any unit at an outstanding, essentially 20 million XP, more than upgrading an uber rare cat to level 60. Brother, that was a mouthful. I'm sorry if I butchered any of that, guys. Holy. Regardless, just more bad news for Superfeline. Let me quickly just do a quick outro here for you guys. Firstly, thank you for hitting over 100 subs. It's freaking awesome. If you weren't aware because you didn't get the little post thing, the community post thing, I wasn't able to post today on account of YouTube throttling my uploads, I guess, for lack of a better term. I just got like a maximum upload exceeded thing when I dropped it in the little upload spot. So yeah, it kind of sucks. I'm just going to use the day to, I guess, just belt out some videos and just build up a backlog so stuff like this doesn't really happen again. I know I've been talking about that for a few videos, but it actually takes a fair amount of time to make these between animating, recording, editing, re-recording, re-editing, back and forth, to actually get to a product where I'm fairly happy with the overall result. I mean, in any case, guys, like, once again, just thank you so much. It makes the world of difference when it comes to making this and putting in this effort. So, yeah, next up we have the rare cats, essentially, like starting with Actress Cat, and we'll be doing them for quite some time. There are a couple interesting rare cats that I am looking forward to talking about, but more importantly, there's a lot of mechanics that get implemented once you get to the rare and beyond, and I am looking forward to talking about those because a lot of them are very endgame specific, and I know that there are a lot of viewers here who would stand to gain more from that than they would from what we've been discussing so far. And of course, if you have anything to add into the channel or the videos or any advice or recommendations you want to give me, feel free to do so, as well as if I get anything wrong, just feel free to correct me down in the comments. I really do appreciate you guys for doing that. It makes these videos more viable long term, and it helps build a sense of community as well, which is quite good. So thank you, and it is worth noting that really starting July 10th, I'm going to be implementing a few changes to the channel. The core videos would still be the same, but there's just going to be a little bit of changes in terms of how I'm managing the channel. I am going to take this a little bit more seriously than I have been up until this point, and hopefully in doing so, it yields a better result. So thank you so much. Stay posted for all of that, and feel free to like and subscribe for Cat God's Blessing, guys. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.